I didn't even know that she saw me. How could I have? I was buried behind the more popular girls with better feet. Though they were shorter, and my fuzzy head could always be seen cresting over their silken, perfect permabuns, I was invisible, or so I thought. But she saw me. Little did she know she saved me too. The summer that Marjorie Musman came to be a guest instructor was an incredibly hot one, even for the Southwest. Company class started every day at 10 a.m., and by our second set of pliés, sweat was dripping from our foreheads and our tights were sticking to folds in private places. Marjorie was from New York, and we expected, like most visitors from the East, the combination of the desert heat, high altitude, and jet lag would render her dehydrated and sleepy by noon. But not her. She was tough. She had danced with Robert Joffrey, one of the first he invited to dance with his company, in fact. This made me totally suspect of her motives. What in the name of God possessed her to come to Albuquerque, New Mexico to our tiny company? What's wrong with her? That was the game as a dancer. Identify the flaw with others and ourselves. It was the only way to become the prima. In my case, my feet weren't arched, my back was, and my bum stuck out, and my turnout wasn't 180 degrees. So every day, every hour, I monitored my flaws and worked to correct them. Her first class was exhausting. She demanded the use of muscles I was unaware that I had. But at least she was a stranger and therefore showed no favoritism yet. That was a relief. She didn't ask Sarah, aka Bendy Flexit, to demonstrate a combination and then praise her, saying, "Good girl," while looking with disappointment at the rest of us. She didn't utter "perfect" as she passed Carissa in a backbend, who could effortlessly fold herself in half until her hair bun rested on her bun buns. Nor did she yell at us for drinking water, getting a towel, or resting. Marjorie wasn't a stuffy Russian diva who thought that dark girl, me, "No do, Giselle. The tutus are white. The girls must be white. Her popo sticks out. No dark girl." Funny, I didn't see the same Russian diva saying no to dark girl when the said diva needed a ride one day. Dark girl made a bad wood nymph, but a great chauffeur. Marjorie wasn't a sadistic, misogynistic Balanchine devotee who would scream, "If you don't fit the costume, you don't fit the part," while eating the remnants of a cheeseburger and cold fries out of a grease-stained takeout bag. Marjorie was nothing like the other people I had danced for. This made me distrust her even more. After class had finished and I was on my way out, she stopped me. "I have a question for you," she started. "What part of your body is straight?" I thought for a few seconds, concentrating as I always had in school, looking for the right answer. I knew it was a trick question, but I had no idea what the trick was. "Think about it," she interrupted. "Come back and tell me tomorrow." I thought about her question all night long. "Teeth," I reasoned. "Definitely teeth. Femur, too curvy. Ankle, too ankly. Gotta be teeth." The next morning, I bounded into the studio, ready to impress. But at the same time, I avoided her gaze. This was a test, and I was nervous. In the middle of class, while I was laying on the floor in the splits, she approached me and said, "Do you have an answer?" I stood up and said, "Yes, teeth." "No, try again tomorrow." I was crushed. No? What does she mean, no? Why no? I was pretty sure I could find a millimeter of a canine that was straight. She didn't say it needed to be long, just straight. Trick question, trick question. "Hair!" I called out. "No," she said as she went back to the music console. "Tomorrow." She glanced in my direction and smiled. We went on like this for days. Every day I named another body part. Every day she said no. By the second week, my pride hurt as much as my erector spinae. I had searched through my father's medical school books and had found some very straight places, or edges, or at least not curves. Finally, I told her that I couldn't find an answer. "There isn't one," she said. "Isn't one? Isn't an answer? That's not an answer. That's not fair." Oh my God, I was so pissed. I am a straight A student. I hated being wrong, especially here in the studio where I am always wrong. Wrong height, wrong hair, wrong color, wrong. This was my chance to showcase my brain, not my body. My chance to be right. How could she do this to me? And as I stood there, trying to hide my tears and my pride, she leaned in, gently shifting her beautiful, blonde, bone-straight, back-length hair out of the way, turned her face to my ear and said, "Then why are you trying to be straight? Why contort and tuck your body into a thing that it is not? We have curves. We are human, and that is beautiful. Let yourself be beautiful as nature intended you to be." My career in professional ballet is long since over, but my injuries keep me company. For almost 25 years, the idea Marjorie introduced to me has echoed through my brain, but it's only in recent years that I have ventured to learn how to walk and sit naturally. The damage of correction is long-lasting and difficult to escape. But I will never let the moment of her hair brushing my shoulder, clearing the cobwebs of misinformation and mistrust, making way for logic and love, leave me. Marjorie is gone now, but her kindness lives.
It's just after dawn on a late summer morning in the house of the good doctor. Not a doctor of people, mind you, but of plants. The best kind of doctor, if you ask me. The house is on a piece of land sidled up to a river that opens up onto a bay across from a wildlife preserve, the preservation of life that is wild. It's a mighty fine concept. Now, if you come into the house and up the stairs, you walk into a bedroom that is in the direct path of migrating birds year-round. And on this morning, the good doctor's adult daughter happens to be in that room, waking up to butterfly wings, wrapping the air with their soft staccato, and her mother's cat, Lily.
Where did you come from, little girl? I think you must be a spy.
Lily meows in protest. She's not a rat. She eats them for breakfast.
So, the old people want me downstairs, huh? Okay then, prepare the way.
She delicately casts Lily out of the room and splashes cold water on her face, accidentally forcing a tete-a-tete with the mirror. She examines her puffier than usual dark circles, saltwater stripped cheeks, and a butterfly lights briefly on her shoulder. She looks up and the room is flooded with bright, shining wings that one by one spark, flicker, and disappear into thin air. She blinks and heads downstairs.
Oh, it's just you?
Your mom went to Bible study. Coffee?
Sure, I'll get it.
She sent Lily up so you'd have a friend.
Oh, that's sweet. I was just calling Lily a spy.
Oh no, she thought you'd sleep longer if you had a cat with you. I got a bunch of creamers. There's French vanilla and hazelnut and a mocha one, I think. And you can mix them, do a tank mix.
Black is great, Dad. Thank you.
She left your cheese grits on the stove.
Maybe in a few.
Hey, sit with me a minute. Talk to your old dad.
She sits at the kitchen table next to her father, not across. Can't look anyone in the eye just yet.
So how'd you sleep?
I tried.
Good, good. We're sure glad you're here.
Probably should have come sooner.
Well, you're here now.
See, many years from now, this house will be sold, like so many before it. The good doctor moved his family around a lot, his services being specialized and often needed elsewhere. But this is the only one the adult daughter will miss.
Did something happen?
Yes,
No. A fight. Couples fight, right? That's like marriage 101.
Yeah, well, it does seem to go with the territory.
Yeah.
The adult daughter gets up and fixes herself some of the cheese grits her mother left behind. The good doctor takes their mugs and refills them.
Hey, I wanted to show you. My parents were cleaning things out to move to the assisted situation, and they never kept anything, but they sent these.
Oh my gosh, let me see. You were so tiny.
I was a goofball is what I was. That was prime brainless phase.
No, these are great. Oh, is that the chick and the...
Quack, quack, and waddle, waddle. Yep.
A quiet comes over the room as a handful of butterflies descend the stairs and disappear into the sunroom.
You know, you can talk to us about whatever.
I know, Dad.
It is true that there had been a fight. There had been a phone call to the mother, and there had been a conversation about going to get her right there and then. But she decided to come on the weekend instead. Though what went unsaid between them is what might have changed the course of the adult daughter's entire life. What she hadn't admitted was that she had almost died. He said he wasn't aiming at her. And much later, he would say it never happened at all. That the hole in the wall was made from something else entirely.
But one can go back there again, into the past. I feel it. I know it. Can I erase it? Make it as though it never happened, never could have happened?
Going back won't fix anything. Never does.
Okay, then. I'll make it so I don't remember. I can do that, can't I? Can't I at least make myself forget it?
Memories are temperamental. We often lose the ones we want so much to hold on to. Others leave an indelible mark. But the details that haunt us most, make everything else cloudy and hard to see. Can you even remember what happened just before he threw the iron?
No. I remember having to buy a new one. It's all such a blur. It goes by so fast. Can anyone ever really prevent disaster while they're in it?
Monks and shamans, they do some.
Should I tell them? I don't want to put anyone in an awkward position.
That's not a question for the likes of stars and echoes.
Or memories and butterfly wings. I want to go back. But I don't want to go back.
Look, I wanted to show you these old report cards. They're hilarious. Can you believe they used to do them this way?
The adult daughter looks around the house, the beautifully well-appointed house, looks at her father's old report cards in the ratty cardboard box they came from.
Dad,
Yeah?
when you were this kid, the kid on these report cards, did you ever think you'd grow up and buy a house like this?
When I was this kid, I didn't know houses like this existed.
She hugs her father, and the good doctor, who never cries, mists over just a little bit. All the old photographs and report cards lift off the table into the air, flap and burst into stardust. She never did tell her parents everything, but she eventually had to explain some of the violence and thank them for being a soft place to land. And to this day, she would swear on her mother's Bible that on that morning she was awakened by a kaleidoscope of wings that fluttered, cracked the air, and disappeared.
Picture it. Manhattan, 2020. There's a global pandemic. Everyone is stuck in their apartments. I've always wanted to start a story like that, like Sophia Petrillo from The Golden Girls. I've always felt akin to Estelle Getty somehow. Though she played B. Arthur's mother on the show, she was actually the youngest person in the cast. And for a long time, I like to say that I was the Estelle Getty of the South Asian theater community because I always played everybody's auntie or mother or even sometimes their grandmother, the elder relative of my contemporaries, which meant that I generally just did an impression of my mom. I rebelled against it for a long time because I resented playing old when I was young. But it was a way in, and I came to realize that Sophia got all the best lines anyway. But I digress. I celebrated a birthday during the global pandemic, and on my birthday, I was by myself. I spent the first 11 weeks of the lockdown alone in my apartment in Manhattan, and then my boyfriend joined me for 3 weeks before returning to New Jersey to spend a week with his son. My parents asked my brother to order me some flowers because they are resistant to the internet. And so my brother placed the order the week before and attached my email to the order so that I, instead of my mom, could deal with any issues that might arise. As a result, I knew the flowers were coming. But then the big day came and no flowers arrived. The next day, I called my brother and told him what happened, and he placed a complaint on the website. A few hours later, the service sent me an email apologizing to my mom for the delay and assuring her that they would take care of the issue. Later, I received another email stating that the florist had been unable to deliver the flowers because no one was home. My daughter lives in a doorman building and she was home all afternoon, I emailed as my mother. Your vendor is lying to you. There's no way the flowers couldn't have been received. I was then assured that the flowers would be found. So I moved on with my day and did the laundry. When I came up from the laundry room, my 84-year-old neighbor called me in a panic. Is everything okay? Is your family all right? Yes, they're fine. What's wrong, Barbara? There's a huge flower arrangement for you in the lobby, and it looks like someone died. What? My parents were trying to send me roses. It's very big, and there's a sign on it that says, "We love you." That doesn't sound like them. The doorman said they were for you. I nearly had a heart attack when I saw them. I thought that someone in your family for sure had died. Okay, let me go down. So off I went to pick up the flowers in the lobby and got off the elevator to be confronted by an enormous funeral wreath of red and white roses with 2 purple ribbons on them, one of which read, "We love you and we'll never forget you." Are these supposed to be for me? The porter sadly nodded. I looked at the arrangement. It was indeed huge. On its 3-legged stand, it was taller than I was, and the ribbons looped down almost to the floor. But this is for a funeral home. He said it was for you. Okay. I looked at the ribbons closely and realized that on the second ribbon, which was hidden behind the first one, it said, "To the Rosarios." This is not for me. Can I just leave this here so that they can come back and get them? They've clearly made a mistake. I'll move them to the back. They're freaking everyone out. I returned to my apartment and wrote an angry email, again in the voice of my mother. A large funeral wreath has been delivered to my daughter's building. I ordered roses to be delivered on her birthday, which was yesterday. I will never use this service again. Please make this right. They emailed me back to see if I could send them a photo of the arrangement, to ascertain what the error was. My daughter did not have her phone with her, and she does not have the time to go back down and take one. It was clearly a wreath meant for a funeral, and you must have someone go back and deliver the correct flowers. I was incensed that I needed to prove that I had received the wrong arrangement, as if the distinction between a dozen red roses and a funeral wreath needed a professional assessment. I called my brother to tell him what happened, and since he's my brother, he was also incensed. The florist then called to ask if I had received an arrangement for the Rosarios. That was a mistake, she said. I know. A few hours later, the doorman rang up to let me know that I had received another delivery and that the wreath had been taken back. I took a picture of the roses and sent them to my parents, who had no idea of the mix-up, and everyone was happy. But a few hours later, my brother texted me, "I feel bad for the Rosarios." I did too. I wondered about them. Who did they lose? Was the funeral today? Who sent them these flowers? In a city where we have lost so many, I thought about the grace there is in getting to grow old, and how playing an old woman might actually be a luxury. I realized how lucky I was to see another birthday. And I don't know the Rosarios, but I will never forget them.
My dad hates that he is my most important person. I mean, he hates it, despises it, detests it, loathes it. I'm not crazy about it either. After he had his heart surgery 3 years ago, he was coming out from under the anesthesia, and he introduced all of us to the nurse. It's my son Troy. He's got a bar and a liquor store right here in town. Yep. His wife, Jessica. Hi. Oh, now this is my son Chad. He's a teacher. Now he's up in the Twin Cities with his wife, Ellen. But my grandson, Walter, that's their picture there. Oh, wow. And who's this? That's my daughter Heidi. She's not married and she doesn't have a job. For the first 32 days of my dad's 33 days of cancer, he tried every single day to get me to go away. Jesus Christ, Heidi, what are you going to do? Let these people do their jobs. For Christ's sakes, go. Live your life. Go to work. Dad, it is December 23rd. Even if I wanted to go to work, no one in New York City has anything for me to do. See, you probably have this idea that I was tormenting him, sitting by his bedside constantly, refusing to leave, even for a moment, forcing super emotional moments of connection or nitpicking his nurses under the guise of patient advocacy. Honestly, that is probably exactly how he would describe it. But I swear, I would go away. I mean, for hours, for whole afternoons and evenings, long stretches of time where I would just wander the hospital in order to give him a break from me. I learned a lot about the hospital. I learned that the worse the shit gets, the better the perks are for the family. On Cancer Hall, for example, you can buy sugar sodas and candy bars. The rest of the hospital only has sparkling water and Nutri-Grain bars. And I rediscovered this amazing family lounge. No one was ever in it. It was way down at the end of the hall, tucked into a corner with a view of the lake. It had a rocking chair, a free coffee machine that made this weird beverage it referred to as hot chocolate with milk, which bared no actual resemblance to either one of those substances, yet somehow was delicious in its own way and free. But the best part was this big screen TV that played nothing but Hallmark Christmas movies. I think I watched them all. Christmas Getaway, A Very Merry Mix-Up, A Mistletoe Miracle, A Crown for Christmas, Switched for Christmas, Coming Home for Christmas, Who Gives a Fuck It's Christmas. I started to think maybe I'm trapped inside a Hallmark movie. Maybe I'm the heroine. Heidi. A little too old to be single, but still plenty sexy. She's committed to her independence, but when her father is battling for his life against cancer, she leaves her busy and fulfilling, albeit lonely life in the bustling metropolis and travels back to Wisconsin to be with him. While walking the halls of the hospital, she meets a very sexy 49-year-old retired English professor pushing his IV tower. After having received treatments for his totally banal and non-life-threatening cancer, he's struck by our heroine's inherent poetry and secret yearning for companionship. As Heidi nurses her father back to health, sexy cancer dude teaches her a thing or two about love. Join us tonight for Cancer for Christmas. Hey, hi. What you watching? Oh, nothing. Here's the remote. No, I I promised the nurse I wouldn't touch anything that hadn't been disinfected. They got me on all kinds of restrictions. I just needed to walk. Sure. You got enough room for that IV tower there? Oh, yeah. I'm good. Yeah? Yeah. You're not a 49-year-old retired English professor by any chance, are you? I'm a 53-year-old currently employed tax attorney. Does that count? Yeah. Yeah. What are you in for? Oh, my dad. Yeah, what kind of cancer? No diagnosis yet. What about you? Lymphoma. Oh, my mom had that. Yeah? How's she doing? She died. She died. She died a long time ago. She died after a long time of very, very successfully fighting her cancer for a long time. She died next door. Actually, that's how I knew about the secret family lounge. Have you tried the hot chocolate with milk? It's free. Now they got me on all these dietary restrictions. Sure. Well, I think you are next door to my dad. Yeah? Yeah, I've seen you around. I like your bathrobe. Yeah? Huh. I like your smile. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. He hands me a laminated picture of a butterfly. I found this in the hallway, just lying on the ground. It must have fallen off one of the room doors. I don't want to put it back up on the wrong door. Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. See, they do this thing at the hospital where when you die, they put a picture of a butterfly on the outside of the room door. I know this because my mother really did die in this same hallway, and I remember seeing these butterflies and wondering what they were. And then when she died, she got her own butterfly, and I was like, oh, that's kind of lovely, a butterfly, as opposed to, like a skull and crossbones. It's subtle. It's a nice perk for the families. I'll just take it to the nurse's station. Thanks. Well, I'm gonna keep walking. You have Merry Christmas. Yeah, you too. Sexy cancer dude with the legitimately hot bathrobe had a butterfly on his door 3 days later. Day 14, December 26. We were in the shit.
Grace Lee Boggs would have turned 105 last week on June 27th. It's conceivable that she could have lived to see this milestone. She died only 5 years ago at age 100. Have you heard of her? Grace Lee was born in 1915 to Chinese immigrant parents in Providence, Rhode Island, a state whose full name is the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, a name that the state's governor only a few weeks ago ordered shortened to the State of Rhode Island on state documents while the legislature moves to change the name officially. It seems in the year 2020, plantations are finally losing their charm, though not to the people canceling their HBO Max subscriptions over the streaming service's temporary removal of Gone with the Wind from its classic movie offerings. Brought up in New York City, where her father ran a restaurant, brilliant Grace Lee enrolled at Barnard at age 16 and by 25 had earned a PhD in philosophy at Bryn Mawr, but couldn't get a job in academia or even at a department store because she was an Oriental. Drawn to leftist ideals and theories, she became concerned with tenants and workers' rights and found her way to the Black Power movement, in which she became a prominent, if anomalous, presence. Her FBI file reportedly speculated that she was an Afro-Chinese. She moved to Detroit and married James Boggs, a Black writer, activist, and auto worker, and stayed there for over 60 years until her death. She was devoted to lifting up her adopted hometown while never losing sight of the problems troubling the country and the world. With curiosity and humor, she dedicated her considerable intelligence and energy to the causes she cared about: civil rights, labor, the environment, feminism, I've been wondering what Grace Lee Boggs would have made of our situation today as a philosopher and lifelong activist with her centurion's perspective. Born before the last great pandemic and front row witness and organizer to so many earlier attempts to undo the racism and exploitation at the very foundation of our government, I wonder what she would have thought had she lived to see this pandemic and the social revolution occurring during its reign. What would she have made of the response to the killing of George Floyd? The global moment, our pinprick perspectives from within our COVID-constrained homes widened to take in the whole of humanity. An expansion that felt like an explosion, like the excessive fireworks that have been tormenting many city dwellers for the past few weeks, or maybe more like a flowering, like the nature documentary footage sped up of a field of wildflowers blooming, blooming, blooming. In her writings and remarks, Grace Lee Boggs often played on the word revolution, dropping the R to form evolution. While she never shied from the labels of revolutionary or radical, and she was unquestionably both, her thoughts on the various protest movements she supported and led evolved to focus on personal responsibility, on our duty as individuals to interrogate ourselves and our own roles in systems of oppression and to work for change close to home. She said, "It's obvious that we're coming to a huge turning point. I don't know what the next American Revolution is going to be like, but you might be able to imagine it if your imagination were rich enough." She also said, in what reads now like a premonition, in the middle of catastrophe, in the middle of disaster, people, particularly people who have already suffered, see an opportunity to evolve to another stage of humanity. Drop the capital G from Grace and you get race. As a native-born, half-Asian woman in America, I straddle two worlds, and therefore am privy to what people in both worlds say about each other and what they both say about the Black and the brown. I'm a spy in the house of hate. We all have perches from which we observe our own little slices of humanity, the worlds we choose to see and the ones we're forced to witness by the given circumstances of our lives, our responsibilities, our limitations. Most of us are stuck at home right now, or should be, if we want to stop spreading the terrible virus, leaving chaos and misery everywhere it lands. Why not evolve our own revolution from home? In your little COVID bubble, with the world at your thumb tips, where can you push for specific change? Whose assumptions and prejudices can you challenge? What can you make better today? If I'm lucky enough to live as long as Grace Lee Boggs, another half century or so, there's so much I could do, we all could do, if our imagination were rich enough.
I'm really so glad you all decided to come. I understand you were reluctant, but it can bring such peace. Whenever families say they don't want to do a viewing because they think it will be too painful, I always encourage them to come in and see how they feel when they get here. Of course, with you, it's all a little different. I gotta tell you, this is our first green burial. We only just started offering the service last year, and well, this is the first time for us. Your dad is our very first. He's a pioneer. And I just want to say to you, it's been a privilege. When your father was brought in, I didn't know what to expect. I had been told you didn't want any preservation and no makeup whatsoever. And I thought, well, I just didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I knew you didn't want a full viewing, but many families don't want an open casket. I'm used to that, but well, I mean, you didn't want a casket at all. Since I knew at least a few of you were coming in today, and again, I'm so pleased that you all decided to come. I wanted you to be able to see him looking serene. I thought, well, I'll just have to put a little something on him. I'll do my subtlest best, but just a little powder, a little lip, so he would be presentable. And then they brought him in. And well, you'll see, he was just perfect. As God is my witness, I didn't do a thing. I did not put a stitch of makeup on him. He didn't need it. I've never seen that. He passed on Thursday night. Well, you'll see. It's a miracle. Saturday morning, and he looks so natural. He hasn't even lost his color, just peaceful and tranquil and so wise looking, like a sage. I thanked him. I thank you for the honor of being a part of his journey. I do consider it such an honor to do what I do, to prepare people for their final rest. I hope it brings consolation to the families in their grief to see their loved ones at peace. I'm so glad you all decided to be here today to bear witness before the burial. Now, since you didn't want a coffin, we just put him on a little pallet in this private room here. We put a blanket on him. I hope that's okay. It's cotton. It's biodegradable. We just thought it would be more comfortable for him and for you. Those white pajamas you sent for him to wear are just the right thing. He really looks like he's sleeping. Placid, perfect rest. I just can't get over how beautiful his skin looks. I mean, it didn't need anything. Never in all my years of doing this have I seen such a flawless complexion. You'll see. Now, you all can just take all the time you need. You have that room there, and you just stay with him as long as you like. The viewing happening in this first reception room doesn't start till 12:30, and then we can shut these doors, and everything is soundproofed. So you'll have privacy. Just take all the time you need. And when you're ready to leave, just knock on that door over there if you don't see me. Oh, and we'll have him all ready to go to the cemetery on Monday morning. The hearse will meet you at Forest Lawn. It's going to be very cold on Monday, so please do dress warm for the burial. We'll wrap him up in the blanket if that's okay. Don't worry, it will still be green. Thank you for trusting us with his final arrangements. We've learned so much from doing this in a new way. We all feel so grateful to your father for that, for being able to give him what he wanted, to follow his last wishes as best we could. Please take all the time you need to say goodbye. Just be together with him and with each other for this sacred time.
Give me that pen. Damn it. My hand isn't working. I am trying to talk. My voice isn't coming. They keep telling me, what is it she keeps saying? You are sedated. You are sedated. You are getting better. Really? I am? I feel awful. I don't feel my body, but I know things are being done to it. They keep telling me, now a prick. Now your insulin. Now we're turning you over. Now we will put this tube in and that tube in. Now we are... She offered a pen and I shook my head yes. She put it in my hand and I felt like I was writing, telling her I don't feel good. I want ice chips. My mouth is so dry, my lips. But when I wrote, she said it was chicken scratch, that she couldn't read it. She said, don't worry, you are getting better. But I think she might be lying. I don't want to die. I am not ready to exit. I'm not even close. I have grandchildren to watch, grow up and play with. I have so much travel to do. I've committed to a score of Hindi conferences this year. to Vassar in the spring to give my exams. The emails. Oh God, they must be piling up. People are trying to reach me. There's so much work to be done. I'm in the middle of a novel. I have to do all my revisions still. And Ranja. Oh, Ranja. He's really suffering. Damn it, this is so frustrating. My kids, I know they're having to go through this with me. I hope Badvi isn't bringing Lovey to the hospital. He's just a baby and his immune system is still developing. She doesn't listen to us. She takes too many risks with the baby. Sweet baby. I miss him. Why did he have to die so young? I don't want to be a vegetable. If I am actually getting better, they keep saying I am, that I need less oxygen. If it's true, then good. But if I have to stay on this respirator for the rest of my life, then I don't want that kind of life. Just kill me, God. Really. I'd rather die than live on machines for my life. I can manage the diabetes, I can manage the heart disease, the tiredness, all of that is just day-to-day stuff. I can live my life with all of that. But this, whatever this horrible disease is, I can't manage it. I can't manage not being able to breathe. I need to breathe. I should have stayed in the sun. Why did we come here again? To New York, to Belgium, all these cold, not sunny places that promise a better life, a better education. Is that even true? Sure, we had good lives here. We raised our children. They made their lives here, and now their kids are growing up here. But is it actually better? Is it really easier? Is the education better? Is the government better run? Obviously not. Is there less corruption? I'm not sure of any of that, but I know the sunshine is better in India. And the flowers. I miss flowers. I miss colors and the fragrant sky. Sunny put pictures up. I can see them when they turn me to face the window side. Sunny's rainbows and unicorns and tigers. And when Padvi or the nurses pull the blinds open, I can see a little bit of blue sky. So blue. When was the last time I went for a walk outside? I think it's March now, so not February, not January. Well, I had those doctor's appointments, but we went from a car to an office building. That's not a walk. And in January, I stayed inside, and I was so proud of myself. I got up to walking 2 miles a day inside the lobby. Ranja would carry my oxygen tank, and I would walk and walk and walk. I was in the hospital in December, so not December. I was also there in part of November. So I guess my last walk would have been in November after I returned from India and before I was admitted for the first time to the hospital. Some windy day in November, I was probably jet lagged and walked. No, wait, that's not right. I only had a few days between my return from India and when I coughed up blood in my phlegm and Ranja called the ambulance. So I don't think I went on any walks. I guess my last walk outside was in India. In Bhopal, in November, 4 months ago, in the sun, after I'd done a reading, which was attended by hundreds of people. I wore that gold and black silk sari, and that lovely award they gave me. So much respect I felt. That was a good trip. That was a good walk. In the sun.
Today, my son asks me, "Mommy, are you a Karen?" Wait, what? What did he just say? Where did he hear about a Karen? He's 10. He gets regular iPad time. He checks YouTube. I don't oversee it. That's where. I try to reply all casual, jaw tensed. Am I a Karen? Well, what's a Karen? He says. It's a woman who calls the manager in a restaurant. Well, what kind of woman is she? Yeah, she's he stumbles. He doesn't want to say the word, I can tell. So I say it for him to show how unaffected I was. A white woman? Yeah. A Karen is a white woman, a white lady who calls for the manager. Then I see it dawn on my black son as he realizes I do indeed fit this description. I am a white woman who has called the manager. He's seen me complain at restaurants, huffy and impatient, ask for a new table, demand we be seated soon, we are ready to order, bring the check. What he doesn't know is I have my own little private relationship to the name. It's been nagging me of late. As an actor, I have always just made it my business to act, not create the container within which to do so. But I heard a story in rooms I have been visiting for 8 years. Rooms where black moms and brown moms and white moms and some dads come together, voluntarily, mind you, to talk about race and privilege in their schools, swirling around their children, in and outside of themselves, and what's been going on. Mostly just tell their stories. And one story floored me. So I tried to write a play. As in life, the lead characters were a white mom and a black mom. The white mom's daughter had called the black mom's daughter a racial slur at the beginning of the school year. The two children were forced to perform an apology to and a forgiveness of each other, after which all involved would presumably move on. But the black mom wants more. She wants the white mother to apologize to her directly. She feels only this will repair the damage done. But no such apology is forthcoming. The white mom senses the black mom expects something from her, but has no idea what it could be. The black mom's desire for it grows. She keeps waiting. It drives her a little nuts, but still, she waits for the entire play. I first attempted it in a playwriting class. Our instructor was a terrific playwright, established, thorough, incredibly clear and fair. She was also a black female playwright, underproduced, bitter about that, which she seemed to contain, but gracious. After we completed our first draft, she had us trade plays with the class member to our right. Our first audience would be someone who did not know us and would give us an honest, unbiased response. To my right was an actress who, to me, confidently possessed all the intimidating standards of white beauty I did not. Blonde hair, wholesome, straight teeth, frank blue eyes, and clothes evoking hipster artistry that had been initiated into her wardrobe. Not just anything was allowed on her skin, okay? Unlike mine, I shop in bulk from the sale racks at Loft. After reading for what seemed like only 15 minutes, she laid it down in exasperation. I'm sorry, my boyfriend is black. I grew up around black musicians. My father is a musician, and I have spent my whole life around black people. And this just could never happen. I just can't believe this black mom would expect an apology and then spend the rest of the play waiting for it. Makes no sense. I just can't get past that. I remember the look on her face. I'd call it disgust, warning me. This disgust was not subjective to her, but would belong to anyone who came across this play. It also said, "Why are you writing this? What's wrong with you?" I had completely and utterly failed to make what I knew was real feel real. It wasn't believable. And maybe the deeper, graver problem was with the story itself. Why am I fixated on something no one else will find remarkable or even believe? Not only can I not structure compelling drama, but even worse, my perception of what is worth telling is for shit. What is wrong with me? Okay, I am a little sensitive, but it was my first play, like ever. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew enough to know this. If the very premise of the play was implausible, there was no play. Then I gave it to our instructor. She read it, had copious, detailed notes, rigorous demands for specificity and clarity, but encouraging. So I asked her, can you tell me if this is believable? I mean, that a person would be waiting for an apology from someone else for an entire school year. Does that have any sustainable action to it? Totally. Anything else? Mommy? Oops. Okay, I am heading somewhere with this. I'll go faster. The plays remained unfinished since then, but now it seems weirdly timely. Several scenes are exact illustrations of white fragility, as if I had written them expressly for D'Angelo's book, but also out of time when white parents were blithely ignorant of how dangerous their children could be. I've witnessed recently the careless cruelty of certain little white girls in my son's class, raised by such parents, girls who relentlessly take the Zoom stage, answering first and for all, proving again and again and again their specialness, as they comfortably leave the black boys and girls in the classroom sitting in silence, like my son. I've wanted to chop off their ponytails. But there is progress. It's decidedly not in vogue to be so unaware now, maybe even impossible. Okay, Karen, my point. The white mom in my play I had named Karen, not anticipating this name would come to represent the very worst of impatient, angry, gun-pointing, privileged, ignorant, scared white women on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. She's a meme. But I had empathized with my Karen. In my play, she tries to learn what's up. This was where it departed mightily from reality. The real mom, whatever her name was, never apologized. In my play, she does. My Karen starts to listen and starts to see the fucked upness of and her role in racist America. She feels powerless to change it, but she does make some small movements. As have I. Mommy! Now he's kind of hopping from one foot to the next the way 10-year-olds do. He's not staring me down. He likely attributes my hesitation to existential parental preoccupation with a million things other than him. Mommy, are you a Karen? I prepare to be truthful. I breathe in, pause, breathe out. Am I a Karen? Well, sometimes. Yes, sometimes I am.
The sky is rolling before me. White shrouds like stretches of damp muslin, preparing, anointing, washing over a body of faint blue. I watch through a glass window how it moves, the shape-shifting landscape of this sky. Somewhere beyond and inside it is the future. I am keeping vigil. A body in this room rests behind me, rises and falls with the air. His eyes, the color of this sky, just brighter. Once they must have courted my mother's with their sharp, wide open. This body stretches beyond this bed, over time and place and all our lives, meeting and releasing us, the air, the years, this day. As though with a giant's breath rising and falling, he seems to roll. These dark, silent clouds outside, their speed and intent so fast, so quiet. It's a wonder to me. I think of when his breath was so large, he did indeed seem like a giant. When I could sit on his shoulders, tower over everything, and marvel at his vantage point. When he might pretend to be a giant jellyfish for us, inflating his lungs like a balloon, rounding his body like a ball of mass, and plunging into the water, we'd squeal and climb and angle for the best ride on his back. Wet like a whale, bobbing along the surface, buoyant with life. In the rain, we'd still play when everyone else left the water. So long as there's no thunder, we knew. We'd revel in this mischief as the onlookers must have wondered who these mad ones were, receiving their laughing baptism in a storm. In this room, there is no warning thunder, no rain to wash over us. just the patient rhythmic inhale of our waiting while we call for grace. Grace to behold the same blue glass in my uncle's eyes, and the voice of my niece who told my uncle, "You look just like my grandpa, only with a mustache." And my cousins with their endless gifts of food, like offerings from the Magi as they made their pilgrimage to us over and over and over. To feel the backs of my sisters when we held each other. The treasured maps I've known forever. Grace to hear his goddaughter say he was graceful, that his children carry this trait from him, that he would continue to live through me this way. And grace because it had not even occurred to me that I'd inherited this gene from him. In the complexities of family, we have many graceless moments, our imperfections woven into the fabric of our intimacies. I am keeping vigil over his body and the sound of his quiet surrender. I am watching the widening frame beyond my window, wishing it would stay small. Inside it, a tiny dark dove loops around like one of those planes writing messages. It's dark from the amplified sun behind it. I know this shape. I hold on to it. The silhouette of peace. This shape is mercy. Mercy, like a dancer lifting himself off the earth, and we see him in the air and think, that is grace. Whether by will of body or God, science or miracle, that is grace.
A New York City park near night.
What are you listening to?
Shh. Pablo is on a park bench smoking a joint. Hair all messy, sunglasses, face mask slung below his chin. You can hear the music from his earbuds.
What is that? I know that piece.
Smoke comes out of his mouth.
Can I have some?
Nope.
Please.
You quit.
I'll quit again.
Pablo starts conducting.
New York's gonna legalize pot.
Legalize or decriminalize?
Shh.
Oh.
Could you take those off for a second? Pablo.
No.
Micah leaves.
Micah!
I hate you.
Love you! Again.
He puts the music on speaker. Beethoven's Fifth blares out. He resumes conducting. He sees a pretty woman watching him. He puts his mask up. He conducts better. A dog starts howling. He suddenly jumps up and enacts a scenario of intrigue to the music. All is for the woman who is quietly appreciating the show. She has a mask on. An old hoodie is tied around her waist. The park has so many trees it feels like you are in the woods. It is nearing the end of the piece. He might throw in some ballet. He picks up a couple of flowers and puts them down, 6 feet in front of her. The piece finishes. He bows. She smiles and bows her head.
I just finished learning Moonlight Sonata today on the piano, the first movement.
Beethoven wrote that for the woman he was in love with. That's impressive.
Not really. It took me a while. Beethoven's Fifth. You're an excellent conductor.
Thank you. It was rather impromptu.
This is the first time I've been out of the house in 64 days. like a real walk in the world.
Welcome back. How's it feel?
Weird. Kind of like
Quasi una fantasia?
She smiles. That is the Italian name for the Moonlight Sonata. A large raccoon suddenly passes right near them.
Jesus, that is the biggest raccoon I've ever seen.
Oh, he's a regular.
You two friends?
My acquaintances, he's partial to pizza. Is one of the many marauders lurking round the woods that come night.
Marauders?
He nods, lowers his mask to have some of the joint. He blows the smoke carefully in the other direction.
And pirates and hoodlums, and ne'er-do-wells.
Ah, yes, well, I can handle ne'er-do-wells.
That's good.
It's the pirates I'm worried about.
Yeah, pirates are tricky.
Man, that smells good.
He holds out the joint. She gives him a look.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Tell you what,
He looks around, sees what he's looking for, points.
see that big thorny nut thing?
Yeah, it looks like...
Like a testicle with thorns. Yeah.
He quickly puts on gloves that seem to come from nowhere.
Which, because it's hollow,
He pulls out a small knife and skillfully makes a one-hitter out of the weird thorny nature thing. He puts some pot in it, places it on the ground by the flowers, takes out hand sanitizer, wipes down the lighter, and leaves it next to it.
nature's worry-free one-hitter. Please.
But
I'm Pablo, by the way.
I'm Mariana. But you can call me Ari.
Ariana. No.
She sits on the ground, pulls down her mask, and lights up. He sits on the ground like her, takes out matches, pulls down his mask, and lights up with her, having made sure he was at least 6 feet away. And as the sun goes down, they proceed to diminish that distance with stories and song and listening until the chill in the air feels real and all lights soften to a stillness that only breath can understand.
On stage, a man and a woman are frozen in tableau. The man stands tall, towering over the woman in berating position, domineering, mouth open as if he is in mid-yell. The woman is seated in a chair next to him, facing out, no emotion on her face. We hear a voiceover. She feels like she is on fire. Her body is ablaze. Her heart is pumping strong and fast. She almost can't hear, like she is underwater. Her stomach is knotting itself and flipping upside down. He calls her a loser. Again. He thinks her career is a joke. After all, when he met her, she was at the top of her game. In the 10 years they are together, she has only made more money than him one of those years, he says. She's not a good wife, he says. She's about herself. She's not affectionate enough. She's a spoiled brat, a liar. He tells her she's a great mother, but that's it. He tells her she uses her children as weapons against him. He wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the children. His life could be so much better. He deserves someone who really loves him and thinks of him and puts him first the way he puts her first. Again, she is a loser, and she doesn't want to be married. He hates her, he says. But he told her he was madly in love with her only days before. He wonders what is so grueling about her days with the kids. She got to watch a swimming lesson today, after all. He says he has to pay for her abusive mother's sins. He's had to watch her battle her eating disorder. He's only been supportive of her career. Why doesn't she love him like he deserves to be loved? He asks again. He calls her a fucking bitch. He asks her how she could sit there and not say a fucking word. We see the woman open her mouth as if to speak. She falls to the floor. Voiceover continues. This time, she won't become hysterical. She won't even cry. Not even one tear. She won't call him an asshole. She won't throw a pillow at him. She won't call him abusive, a bully. She won't become the victim. She won't internally take the blame. She isn't cold, she thinks. She isn't an impatient person. She isn't a spoiled brat, a loser. Her career isn't a joke. She isn't a terrible wife. She won't eat the cake out of the garbage. She won't text an ex-boyfriend. She won't smoke a cigarette. She won't think of jumping out the window. She won't escape. This time. This time. This time. We see the woman get on her knees. She holds her arms out, hands fully open and palms pointing upward. She breathes deeply. She then rises. She walks and stands directly opposite of him. She looks straight into his eyes. Nothing. 30 seconds of total silence. They are inches apart. She smiles. He falls to his knees and clings to her legs. She unwraps herself gently, lovingly towards him. She opens the door and a huge light pours out. She walks into it and disappears.
You think about it. You marinate it. The idea of change. You go back and forth with it. A year goes by, maybe two. It feels pressing in your mind, but not yet urgent. You take steps that move you further in that direction, but this is a hard choice to make. It can wait. A big part of your identity is tied to this place. A whole lot of stories in this town, this block, this building. Living here was once your dream. Rejecting it now feels ungrateful and a little bit insane. But you keep thinking about it. Evolution is only human, universal law. Emotions boring in a kind of roller coaster that changes tracks from 1 minute to the next. No, you're not crazy for having outgrown this space. That's that little anxious voice telling you conflicting stories in order to create drama. But don't listen to her, because you know that bitch is not a very good friend. She means well, but takes things a little bit out of proportion. Just tell her to shut up. Finally, she does. Go ahead, blame it on the virus. But you know damn well this has been cooking for quite a while. Life's unpredictable. You've been craving for a sense of control and a little bit of agency over the narrative of your own life. Don't be afraid. This step will surely open other avenues and possibilities, right? Or maybe not. Whatever, you just need change. So finally, bam, a detonator. Bedbugs. Ha! Life's wiser than you and has a peculiar sense of humor. The world has stopped. And here's your excuse to act. What's next? Who knows? Don't ask. Who cares? It's a new cycle and it's all that matters. Finish packing and go to sleep. Try to sleep. I hope I can sleep. Be gentle now. Be graceful. Embrace the unknown.